Your product selection is one of the most important decisions you're going to make when it comes to your Amazon business. So how confident are you with your product research? Today, I'm going to go through some of the biggest mistakes that I've seen people make when they're conducting their product research, and I'll share with you how I do mine. Welcome to AMZ Unlocked. I am Kimberly Locke, and today we are going to be going through some of the mistakes that I've seen people make with their product research, and I'm going to share with you the way I do mine and how I avoid making these mistakes so you can also avoid them when you do your own product research. So let's get started. The first mistake I see a lot of people make when they are doing their product research is they start with a niche. They focus in on what particular category they want to sell in, and then they just keep trying to find a product to fit. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Sometimes it's just not going to work. And in the case with the pegs, it's never going to work. So how do I determine where I'm going to start my product research? I start with my customer avatar. I don't start with a niche. I figure out who my customer is, and then I get to where I know all about them. I know their characteristics, what their life is like, what they do on a daily basis. I even went so far when I was creating my own customer avatar for my first brand to go through the day of my customer avatar. I even gave her a name because my customer avatar was a woman. I named her Amy Green. And so I knew Amy Green had children. I knew the type of job she had. I knew her education level. I knew her income level. I knew what was really important to her, what her hobbies and activities were. I knew how she thought. I know what would impact her buying decisions because I knew what was really important to her. And I also went so far as to go through a day in the life and think about everything that she would do and encounter throughout her day from the time she woke up to the time she went to bed. So I really dove deep. I really got in there and figured out what my customer avatar was all about before I started looking at products. Once I knew who my customer avatar was and what really mattered to her, then I could go, okay, well, this is an area that would have products that would be really important to her and that would make a difference in her life and that she would really want to invest in and make sure she was making a good purchase from. So those were the areas that I looked for my product selection. The second big mistake I've seen people make when they're going through their product research journey is being blinded by dollar signs and, again, not paying attention to that customer avatar and what really matters to them. A phrase I've used in the past, it's called gas factor, and a product needs to have gas factor. And basically that means give a shit. Your customer needs to care really deeply about this product for them to make a decision to buy it from you. So I have seen people get really blinded with dollar signs and find a product niche or a product that's making, $150,000, $175,000 in revenue in a month, but it's not something anybody really cares about. One example I found when I was doing some product research for this episode was women's tank tops. So a tank top pack for women. It had a good search volume, over 6,000 individual searches in a month, and it had an average revenue of $179,000 in the US marketplace. But how much care factor is someone really going to have over a pack of tank tops? The color, maybe, but there's no real way to really differentiate this product and make it something that a woman is really going to care about. It's something that's most likely going to be an undergarment, jumper, or a shirt, or a sweater, or something that she's wearing when it's really hot and she just wants to stay cool. It's not something that's a huge give a shit item. It doesn't have the gas factor, even though it has the revenue dollars. So don't get blinded by the dollar signs. Look for something that really matters to your customer. The next mistake I've seen people make is picking a product that they can't really differentiate. How much can you differentiate, something like a bamboo toothbrush or, a set of bamboo plates? Outside of shape, you really can't differentiate them, or the way you package them, with however many you put into a pack. There's not a big differentiation factor going into that type of product. That's more of a commodity product. And like I said, if you can't differentiate on a product and you can't communicate it visually when you do make that differentiation, then it's going to be really hard for you to get customers to click on your listing. You need to be able to express your differentiation visually so it can be shown really clearly in your hero image. But there is the flip side of this. So you can go from not differentiating at all to differentiating too much, or differentiating just for the sake of differentiating, where you're like, oh, this would be really cool to have this feature in this product, and who cares? It's like, oh, that's kind of cool, but I really don't care, don't need it, not going to use it. It might be something that's really super specific to maybe just a very few people, or something that you think is really cool, but it's not something that's really making the use of the product improved. It's not going to really make a difference in the life of that person. For example, the only thing I could think of might be like a saucepan, skillet, a cooking skillet. Cooking skillet, you might put a really cool shaped handle on it. But does it really make it easier to grip? Is it more comfortable to hold? Does it really make a difference other than it looks kind of cool? No. And as someone who loves to cook, that's not going to sway me. That's not going to help me make a decision to buy that over another one. It's not a differentiation that matters. It's not a differentiation that is going to make using the product better. It's not going to make my life better by having that different handle that's a silly shape or a funny shape. It's not going to help. So think about that when you're going to make your differentiation decisions. It's like a continuum. You can go from here to here, where there's no differentiation to so much differentiation, counterintuitive, and just doesn't make sense anymore. So you need to find something in that happy middle space. It needs to be differentiated where you can see the difference, and it needs to make the product actually better, or make the experience of using the product better. Another big mistake that I have seen people make, and I've encountered several and coached them through this and tried to help them pivot and recover from this, is really not looking into the profitability of the product before making the decision that that was the product you're going to go with. There's a lot of things that go into your cost of goods and your COGS, your cost of goods sold. We've talked about that somewhat in the past, but it's beyond just the cost of the product from the manufacturer. You have to consider packaging. You have to consider storage and shipping, your logistics, getting it from the manufacturer to the fulfillment center. Are you going through a traditional freight forwarder and taking it into a 3PL to stay in the United States and then ship that from there into Amazon periodically? You need to look at what those shipping costs are going to be. You need to include that in your logistics calculations. And a big one is you need to know what your HTS code is. This is the code that your manufacturer should be able to give you. And if you're unsure, if you're not really sure and comfortable with how to determine if it's an accurate HTS code, there are people that you can go to on Upworks that can help you. They're specialists in importing, and they can help you know that you have the right customs code, because that's what the HTS code is. It is a customs declaration code that helps you determine your percentage of tariffs for importing your product. So I know that there was a time a few years ago when a whole lot of products had an additional 25% tariff on top of what their traditional tariff already was. That can completely destroy your profitability if you're not expecting it. And I knew someone who actually had placed their order, and then when they were organizing their freight forwarding, they found out that the duties were going to not be the 5 to 10% they had anticipated, but it was going to be an additional 25% on top of it. So it was around 35% tariffs. And that completely destroyed their profit margin. It was no longer a profitable product. They were going to lose money. There was no way to recoup that. They just couldn't raise the price enough to cover that expense. So it's really important that you understand all of the components that go into calculating your landed COGS. And I've done a video on that in the past, so I will drop a link for that in the description so you can check that out. But it's really important that you know all the different parts and all the different costs that go into that, so you know exactly what it costs to land your product in your fulfillment center. You have to consider all of the logistics and shipping along the way, depending on which route you're going. Are you going traditional into a 3PL where you'll be shipping periodically into Amazon? Or are you going with the just-in-time shipping like I do, using SKU Drop, whose link is also in the description, where your goods stay in China and you're shipping in just a small shipment each week, and it's going directly from the SKU Drop warehouse in China to the fulfillment center in Amazon. So there's no 3PL in between, there's no storage fee for a 3PL in the United States, and there's no costs for shipping it from there into Amazon with your shipping plan. It's all covered when you ship it from SKU Drop. And that can make it a much more cost-effective plan for your logistics and help your cost of goods. The last mistake, and this is one that I actually made myself with my very first product and my very first order, and it was having poor order management. So when you place your order, you've gone through the whole process and you've found your factory, you're happy with your sample, and you're going to go forward and place your order. You need to submit a purchase order, a PO. And you can also submit along with that an addendum. Sometimes it's referred to as a BOM, bill of merchandise, and it has all the specifics of your product. And I have, when I actually corrected this mistake, when I placed my second order, I went with a company that did order management, and I learned the process from going through it with them, and now I do it myself. But you get really specific with what's acceptable as far as mistakes, errors, what isn't acceptable for inspections, what is acceptable for the packaging, what is required, where every little specific part of that order, from the time that they make the product, the quality of the product, the packaging of the product, the labeling of the product, and the shipping of the product, all of that, the barcodes, everything is included and spelled out very clearly, as well as what are the levels of acceptability as far as mistakes that might be caught when you have an inspection. And that goes hand in hand with the next part of this mistake as far as your order management is, once you get your sample, that's great, but that's not where it ends. You still need to have your products inspected before you ship them. And I'm actually having production inspections going on. So the entire process of the production is being monitored, as well as the packaging and the samples, the products before the shipment goes out. So I use a company in China called VTrust. They're fantastic. I'll put a link to their website. They're not an affiliate of mine. They're just someone that I've used that I really, really like. They're very detailed. They know what they're doing. This is all they do is inspections. So I'm having a production inspection and I'm having a pre-shipment inspection. And even before that, even though I use this company for several of my products, before I place every order, I still have another sample made and I have them do a sample inspection. And with a new product that I'm launching with a different manufacturer for a different brand, I'm having them get the sample. Instead of it coming to me, I'm having the professional inspectors do the inspection so they can really put it through the tests. They do some amazing tests on these products that you wouldn't believe, that really get down and examine the real quality of the product. So you need to make sure that you're including the inspection as part of your process. And you can put this into your cost of goods, or you can consider this overhead. That's your call, how you want to operate your business for that. But it's really important that you just cannot be specific enough with your order management and your inspections. So I hope this has been helpful. This has not been one of my longer videos. This has been really quick and to the point, but these are some of the key mistakes that I see people making when they're going through their product research. And I've worked with a lot of people in the product research phase, and I've seen these things happen. And I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of them, so that's something that you could prevent and not have happen when you're going through your own product research. Now, I do have my product research pathway that does hit some of the high points of this. It's a great reference to have on hand, and I'll put a link to that in the description. So if you want to get a hold of that free resource so you can have it as something to refer to when you're doing your product research, please do grab that. And if you would like to get any additional help, or maybe have someone walk you through the whole process of product research, maybe as a coach or a mentor, that's definitely something that I can offer as well. And I've got links if you want to find out more about that in the description also. So I hope this has been helpful. If it has, please hit the like button, and don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the bell so you get notified of upcoming videos like this one.